Hi, I'm Alan Sagano. I'm the president of ADS Consulting Group, and thanks a lot for listening to this brief video on an account lockout policy in Active Directory. So if you look at a lot of the compliance specs, they say, well, you have to configure Active Directory to have a lockout policy, 5 incorrect attempts within 5 minutes, lock out the account, blah, blah, blah. So you may think, oh, yeah, that's a pretty good idea, it helps increase your security. But there is a downside to that, which is, of course, that if you have a lockout policy, it actually can become a denial of service attack vector. And if I'm a hacker and just want to screw with you, I can basically repeatedly try to authenticate to Active Directory, repeat with a script, and lock out all the accounts. So a couple of things, and these are suggestions, and it's just stuff that we've learned over the past. Number one, if you have an account lockout policy, make sure that the accounts are unlocked after a specified amount of time, maybe 15 minutes, maybe half an hour. But you want to unlock those accounts because if a hacker successfully manages to lock all of your accounts, it's essentially you got locked out of your own house, right? You're not going to be able to come back in if those accounts aren't unlocked automatically or automatically after a specified amount of time. Super, super important. The other thing, which is when you think about, okay, so what is the motivation for having an account lockout policy? Is it to perhaps identify people that don't know their password or can't type? I'm going to say no. Really, the motivation for having an account lockout policy, right, is to detect a scripted or a password flood attack, some type of automated attack where I'm just trying to guess a bunch of passwords, right? Boom, boom, boom. So if that's the case, if that's what you are implementing an account lockout policy for, I would suggest setting your thresholds very high. So in other words, figure out how long it takes for a person to put in their username and password, how many seconds that takes, right? With a pretty fast typist, right? And set out your threshold above that threshold. So for example, let's assume that it takes, let's be super aggressive. So let's say that it takes somebody 4 seconds to put in their username and password and press enter. So 4 seconds-ish. So that means in 1 minute, they could have about 15 attempted logins, right? Because 4 seconds times 15 is 60 seconds. So that's about 15 attempted logins. If you take 15 in 5 minutes, that's 75 attempted logins. So let's say that you would say, if I get more than 75 incorrect logins within a 5-minute period, trigger the account lockout threshold. And what that's doing is it's basically what most people are designed to do. It's basically protecting you against a scripted or a password guessing attack, right? Rather than the recommended 5 log out, and it's like, Dave forgot his password again, went to reset it, or he can't type, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. In my opinion, that is not what the goal of the account lockout policy is. And the problem with that is that when you have those many things get triggered, it's like wolf, 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 wolf. It's just crying wolf all the time. Finally, like, you know what? Shut that stupid thing off. Can't take it. And you have what's called log fatigue, and you just ignore it. As opposed to if you set your thresholds really high and it gets triggered, it's like, we are under a scripted attack. Boom, shields up. We better figure this out now, right? So it actually is a real alarm as opposed to Dave couldn't log in because he forgot his password again. So that's our tip of the day. Suggestion is to set your thresholds relatively high for incorrect logins within a certain amount of time, and also make sure that you unlock the accounts if they do get locked out after a specified amount of time, just in case a hacker manages to lock all your accounts. Thanks a lot for listening. If you like this content, please hit that subscribe button, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.